OSHA Standard 1910.305 requires electrical receptacles installed in wet or damp locations to be suitable for such locations. The National Electrical Code provides guidance on the use of electrical equipment in wet or damp locations. According to the National Electrical Code, receptacles in wet locations must be of the weatherproof type. Receptacles in damp locations must be of the weather-resistant type. OSHA and the National Electrical Code do not contradict each other on this requirement. Both require the use of electrical equipment that is suitable for the intended location, including wet or damp locations. The citation received for non-compliance with OSHA 1910.305 is valid. There are no exceptions in OSHA regulations or the National Electrical Code for industrial sites in regards to the requirement for electrical receptacles to be suitable for wet or damp locations. OSHA is correct in citing the facility for non-compliance with 1910.305. The requirement applies to all locations, including industrial sites. When dealing with electrical installations in potentially wet or damp areas, it's crucial to understand the specific requirements outlined by both OSHA and the NEC. These regulations are in place to ensure the safety of individuals and prevent electrical hazards. Let's delve deeper into the specifics. First, it's important to define what constitutes a wet location versus a damp location. A wet location is generally defined as an area where water or other liquids may drip, splash, or flow on or against electrical equipment. Examples include areas subject to direct exposure to weather, car washes, and some industrial processing areas. A damp location, on the other hand, is an area that is subject to moderate degrees of moisture. This could include partially protected locations under canopies, marquees, or roofed open porches, and interior locations subject to moderate degrees of moisture, such as some basements or cold storage warehouses. Now, let's examine the types of receptacles that are suitable for these different environments. For wet locations, the NEC mandates the use of weatherproof receptacles. These receptacles are designed to prevent water from entering the enclosure and coming into contact with electrical components. They typically feature a gasketed cover that creates a watertight seal when closed. These covers are often spring-loaded to ensure they automatically close when the plug is removed. Weatherproof receptacles are crucial in areas where electrical equipment is directly exposed to rain, snow, or other sources of water. For damp locations, the NEC requires the use of weather-resistant receptacles. While not fully waterproof like their weatherproof counterparts, weather-resistant receptacles are designed to withstand moisture and prevent corrosion. They are constructed with materials that are less susceptible to degradation from humidity and condensation. Weather-resistant receptacles are commonly used in bathrooms, kitchens, and other areas where moisture is present but direct water exposure is less likely. It's important to note that both weatherproof and weather-resistant receptacles must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions in all applicable electrical codes. This includes using the correct type of box, fittings, and wiring methods. When selecting receptacles for wet or damp locations, it's essential to look for the appropriate markings and certifications. Weatherproof receptacles should be marked as weatherproof or WR, while weather-resistant receptacles should be marked as WR. These markings indicate that the receptacles have been tested and certified to meet the relevant safety standards. In addition to selecting the correct type of receptacle, it's also important to consider the use of ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs. GFCIs are designed to protect against electrical shock by detecting ground faults and quickly interrupting the circuit. The NEC requires GFCI protection for receptacles in many wet and damp locations, including bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. GFCIs can be either receptacle type or circuit breaker type. Receptacle type GFCIs are installed in place of standard receptacles and provide protection only for that specific outlet. Circuit breaker type GFCIs, on the other hand, are installed in the electrical panel and provide protection for an entire circuit. Regular testing of GFCIs is essential to ensure they are functioning properly. Most GFCIs have a test button that should be pressed monthly to verify that the device is tripping and interrupting the circuit. If a GFCI fails to trip when tested, it should be replaced immediately. Furthermore, it is crucial to regularly inspect electrical equipment in wet and damp locations for signs of damage or deterioration. This includes checking for cracked or broken receptacles, frayed wiring, and corroded connections. Any damaged equipment should be repaired or replaced promptly to prevent electrical hazards. It is worth reiterating that there are no exceptions in OSHA regulations or the NEC for industrial sites when it comes to the requirement for electrical receptacles to be suitable for wet or damp locations. This requirement applies to all locations, regardless of whether they're residential, commercial, or industrial. Some individuals mistakenly believe that industrial sites are exempt from these regulations due to the presence of trained personnel and the use of specialized equipment. However, this is not the case. Electrical safety is paramount in all environments, and the risks associated with using unsuitable receptacles in wet or damp locations are the same regardless of the setting. Therefore, it is essential for industrial facilities to comply with all applicable OSHA and NEC requirements for electrical installations in wet and damp areas. Failure to do so can result in citations, fines, and, more importantly, serious injuries or fatalities. To ensure compliance with these regulations, industrial facilities should conduct regular inspections of their electrical systems and equipment. These inspections should be performed by qualified personnel who are familiar with the requirements of the NEC and OSHA. Any deficiencies identified during these inspections should be corrected promptly. In addition to regular inspections, industrial facilities should also provide training to their employees on electrical safety. This training should cover topics such as the hazards of electricity, the proper use of electrical equipment, and the procedures for reporting electrical problems. By educating employees about electrical safety, facilities can reduce the risk of accidents and injuries. When it comes to electrical installations in wet or damp locations, it is always best to err on the side of caution. If there is any doubt about whether a particular receptacle is suitable for a given location, it is best to use a weatherproof receptacle. Weatherproof receptacles provide the highest level of protection against moisture and can be used in both wet and damp locations. Remember, electrical safety is a shared responsibility. By understanding and complying with the requirements of OSHA and the NEC, we can all help to create a safer environment for ourselves and others. The information presented here is for general guidance only and should not be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer before performing any electrical work. Furthermore, remember that local codes and regulations may vary, so it's essential to check with your local authorities to ensure compliance with all applicable requirements. Electrical safety is a critical aspect of workplace safety, and adhering to regulations like OSHA 1910.305 and the guidelines of the National Electrical Code is paramount to preventing accidents and ensuring a safe working environment. The specific requirement for receptacles in wet or damp locations highlights the potential dangers of moisture in electrical systems and the importance of using appropriate equipment. Let's further elaborate on the practical implications and best practices for implementing these regulations. Understanding the difference between weatherproof and weather-resistant receptacles is key. Weatherproof receptacles, as mentioned, are designed for direct exposure to weather elements. These are typically found outdoors in areas subject to rain, snow, or direct water spray. The key feature of a weatherproof receptacle is its ability to maintain a watertight seal, preventing water from entering the electrical connections. This is usually achieved through a combination of a gasketed cover and a robust enclosure. Weather-resistant receptacles, while providing a degree of protection against moisture, are not designed for direct exposure to the elements. They are suitable for damp locations where moisture is present but direct water contact is unlikely. These receptacles are built with materials that resist corrosion and degradation from humidity. The NEC provides detailed specifications for the construction and performance of both weatherproof and weather-resistant receptacles. It is important to ensure that any receptacles used in wet or damp locations meet these specifications and are listed by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories or Intertek. Installation of receptacles in wet or damp locations requires careful attention to detail. The NEC specifies the types of boxes, fittings, and wiring methods that must be used in these environments. For example, conduit and fittings used in wet locations must be watertight to prevent moisture from entering the electrical system. Wiring must be suitable for wet locations and must be properly supported and protected. Grounding is another critical aspect of electrical safety in wet and damp locations. The NEC requires that all metal enclosures and equipment be properly grounded to provide a path for fault current to flow back to the source. This helps to prevent electrical shock and minimize the risk of fire. GFCIs play a vital role in protecting against electrical shock in wet and damp locations. GFCIs work by monitoring the current flowing in the circuit and comparing it to the current returning. If there is a difference of more than a few milliamperes, the GFCI will trip and interrupt the circuit. This can happen if someone comes into contact with a live wire and provides a path for current to flow to ground. GFCIs are incredibly sensitive and can trip in a fraction of a second, preventing serious injury. Regular inspection and maintenance of electrical equipment in wet and damp locations are essential. This includes checking for cracked or broken receptacles, damaged wiring, and corroded connections. Any damaged equipment should be repaired or replaced immediately. It is also important to ensure that all covers and enclosures are properly sealed to prevent moisture from entering the electrical system. Training is a crucial component of any electrical safety program. Employees who work with or around electrical equipment should be trained on the hazards of electricity, the proper use of electrical equipment, and the procedures for reporting electrical problems. This training should be provided regularly and should be tailored to the specific needs of the workplace. In addition to the technical requirements of the NEC and OSHA, it is also important to consider human factors when designing and maintaining electrical systems in wet and damp locations. This includes providing adequate lighting, clear signage, and easy access to electrical equipment. It is also important to ensure that employees are aware of the potential hazards of electricity and are trained to work safely around it. When assessing existing installations for compliance, consider a systematic approach. Firstly, identify all areas within the facility that are classified as wet or damp locations, referring to NEC definitions. Secondly, inspect all receptacles in these locations to determine whether they are weatherproof or weather resistant as appropriate. Thirdly, verify that the receptacles are properly installed, using the correct boxes, fittings, and wiring methods. Fourthly, confirm that GFCI protection is provided for all required receptacles. Fifthly, check for any signs of damage or deterioration to the receptacles, wiring, or other electrical equipment. Finally, document all findings and develop a plan for correcting any deficiencies. Remember that compliance with electrical safety regulations is an ongoing process. Regular inspections, maintenance, and training are essential to ensure a safe working environment. Staying informed about the latest updates to the NEC and OSHA regulations is also important. By taking a proactive approach to electrical safety, facilities can minimize the risk of accidents and injuries and create a safer workplace for everyone. Furthermore, be aware of the specific nuances of the NEC in relation to specific equipment. For instance, certain types of equipment, such as submersible pumps or specialized industrial machinery, may have unique requirements for electrical connections in wet locations. Always refer to the manufacturer's instructions and the applicable sections of the NEC when installing or maintaining such equipment. The concept of suitability as mentioned in OSHA 1910.305 is also crucial. This means that the electrical equipment must be designed, constructed, and installed in a manner that is appropriate for the specific environment in which it is used. Factors to consider include the presence of moisture, corrosive substances, flammable materials, or other hazards. Ultimately, the goal is to create an electrical system that is safe, reliable, and compliant with all applicable regulations. Don't overlook the importance of proper labeling and identification of electrical equipment in wet and damp locations. Clearly labeling receptacles as weatherproof or weather-resistant can help to prevent confusion and ensure that the correct type of equipment is used. Similarly, labeling electrical panels and disconnects can help to facilitate maintenance and troubleshooting. Proper documentation is also essential. Maintain accurate records of all electrical inspections, maintenance activities, and repairs. This documentation can be invaluable in demonstrating compliance with regulations and in identifying potential problems before they lead to accidents. When making any changes to an electrical system in a wet or damp location, always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer. They can help to ensure that the changes are made safely and in accordance with all applicable codes and regulations. Remember that electrical safety is not just a matter of compliance with regulations. It is also a matter of protecting the health and well-being of employees and the public. By taking a proactive approach to electrical safety, facilities can create a safer and more productive working environment. Consider incorporating advanced technologies into electrical safety programs. For example, thermal imaging can be used to detect hot spots in electrical equipment, which can indicate potential problems before they lead to failures or fires. Similarly, power quality monitoring can be used to identify voltage sags, surges, and other power disturbances that can damage electrical equipment. Furthermore, consider the use of remote monitoring systems to track the performance of electrical equipment in wet and damp locations. These systems can provide real-time data on voltage, current, temperature, and other parameters, allowing for early detection of potential problems. By leveraging these advanced technologies, facilities can enhance their electrical safety programs and improve the reliability of their electrical systems. Remember, electrical safety is an ongoing journey, not a destination. By continuously learning, adapting, and improving electrical safety practices, facilities can create a safer and more productive working environment for everyone.